She had everything. The New York City apartment. The relationship she had dreamed of. The friends. The job that everyone in her field would envy. And she would come home at night and cry. Alone. Not knowing why. And then she had a baby. A healthy baby. A baby she loved. A baby she felt connected to from the very first moment. And she thought, postpartum depression is not what I have. I love my baby. I feel bonded. I'm fine. And then the thoughts started. Not thoughts of not wanting her baby. Not that. Something different. Something that made no sense and terrified her completely. She would walk through a doorway holding her son and her brain would convince her, vividly in full detail, that she was about to slam his head into the side of the frame. She would hold him and her brain would show her dropping him on the marble countertop below, over and over, like a film she could not turn off. She had not done these things. She did not want to do these things. But her brain would not stop showing them to her. Today we are going to talk about what postpartum depression actually looks like when it does not look like what you expect it to. We are going to talk about intrusive thoughts, what they are, why they happen, and why having them does not make you a bad mother. We are going to talk about how to build a support system that actually holds you when everything else is falling. And we are going to talk about why staying silent is the one thing that makes all of it so much harder. If you are a new mother or a mother again, if you are someone who loves one, this video is for you. And if this channel is new to you, hit that subscribe button now, because this is exactly what we do here every single week. Now let's begin. Part 1. What postpartum depression actually looks like when it doesn't look like what you were told. Most of us have a very specific image of postpartum depression. The mother who cannot bond with her baby. The mother who feels nothing when the baby is placed on her chest. The mother who is immediately, obviously, visibly struggling. And that can absolutely be the experience. For some women it is. But for many, many others, postpartum depression looks completely different. It looks like a woman who loves her baby fiercely, who feels connected, who is functioning, who from the outside appears to be doing well, and who on the inside is drowning in anxiety she cannot name, guilt she cannot explain, and a persistent low-grade darkness that arrived somewhere around month 4, after everyone assumed the hard part was over. This is important because the assumption that postpartum depression only looks one way is one of the main reasons so many women do not seek help. They think, I love my baby. I must be fine. This is just the adjustment. This is just exhaustion. This is just me. And they are wrong. And the silence costs them. Here is what the research actually tells us. Postpartum depression can develop any time within the first year after birth. Not just the first 6 weeks. Not just the first trimester. Anytime. In the first year. And it can coexist with genuine love for your baby. With genuine joy in moments. With a life that looks from the outside completely intact. The 6-week postpartum appointment that most women receive, the one that is supposed to be a mental health check, is often 5 minutes long. 5 minutes. After 9 months of pregnancy. After the most physiologically, hormonally, neurologically seismic event of a human body's life. 5 minutes. And so women leave that appointment with a box checked. And they carry on. And the darkness continues. And they tell no one. Because postpartum depression, they have been told, should have announced itself by now. Should have been obvious. Should have happened earlier. Takeaway number 1. Postpartum depression does not follow a schedule. It does not always look like detachment. It does not always arrive in the first 6 weeks. If you are in the first year of motherhood and something feels wrong, something feels heavier than it should, darker than it should, more anxious than makes sense, please talk to someone. Not in 6 months. Not when it gets worse. Now. Because what you are experiencing is real. It has a name. And it is treatable. Part 2. Intrusive thoughts. The thing nobody warned you about, why having them doesn't make you a bad mother. I want to talk about something that I believe is one of the most undertreated, most misunderstood, most silently suffered experiences in new motherhood. Intrusive thoughts. Here is what they are, in the clearest terms I can offer. An intrusive thought is an unwanted, involuntary mental image or scenario that arrives without your permission and horrifies you. In postpartum intrusive thoughts specifically, a mother might be holding her baby and suddenly see a vivid image of dropping him. She might be walking through a doorway and her brain might flash a scene of his head hitting the frame. She might be giving him a bath and see him slipping. She might be sitting with him and experience a sudden, overwhelming terror that something terrible is about to happen. And then, because she is a mother who loves her child, she is devastated by the fact that her brain just showed her that. And she thinks, what kind of mother thinks these things? What is wrong with me? If anyone knew, they would take him away. And so she tells no one. And the thoughts continue. And she manages them alone. And the isolation makes everything worse. Here is what the research tells us. Intrusive thoughts in the postpartum period affect an estimated 70 to 100% of new parents. 70 to 100%. They are not a sign of mental illness. They are not a sign of danger. They are a sign of a brain under extreme stress trying to protect something it loves more than anything. The brain of a new parent is hypervigilant. It has one job: keep this baby alive. And it does that job by scanning relentlessly for everything that could go wrong. And sometimes, in that relentless scanning, it generates images of the very scenarios it is afraid of. Not because you want those things. Not because you are capable of those things. But because your brain is desperately, anxiously, exhaustingly trying to protect. The mother in our story eventually worked through her intrusive thoughts with a therapist and a psychiatrist. And one of the most grounding things she discovered was a pattern. Her intrusive thoughts were almost all related to head trauma, the specific kind of trauma she had personally experienced in her car accident. Her brain was not randomly generating horror. It was drawing from the deepest well of her own fear. This is not a sign of danger. This is a sign of humanity. Takeaway number 2. If you are experiencing intrusive thoughts, vivid, unwanted, horrifying images that you cannot control, you are not a bad mother. You are not dangerous. You are not broken. You are a parent whose brain is doing an imperfect, exhausting job of trying to keep your baby safe. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a psychiatrist. Say the thoughts out loud in a safe space. Because the moment you say them, the moment you hear someone respond with, "That is incredibly common," and it does not mean what you think it means, the power those thoughts have over you begins to diminish. Part 3, the tools that actually help, and the one that nobody wants to talk about: medication, therapy, and the permission to need both. Let's talk about treatment. Because I think there is still, in 2026, an enormous amount of shame around the tools that actually work for postpartum mental health. Medication. She was on medication before she got pregnant. She stayed on medication, adjusting as needed, throughout both pregnancies. And she is on medication now. And she does not apologize for that. She used a metaphor that I think deserves repeating. If you broke your leg, no one would say just toughen up and walk on it. They would give you crutches. And you would use them. Not because you are weak. Because your leg is broken. And crutches exist for exactly that reason. For some of us, our brain chemistry needs support in the form of medication. Not forever necessarily. Not everyone. But for some of us, the medication does not remove the anxiety or the sadness. It makes them appropriate. It makes the response proportionate to what is actually happening. It allows you to function in a way that is connected to your actual life, rather than to a brain running on faulty signals. And the thing about medication is this: the moment she told people she was on medication, she discovered that almost everyone around her was experiencing something similar. The silence made it feel rare. The honesty revealed it was common. Talk therapy. 8 years. Every week. Same therapist. The kind of therapist who knows all the people in your life and the history behind every reference without needing it explained. This is not a luxury. This is infrastructure. The way a gym membership is infrastructure for physical health, talk therapy is infrastructure for mental health. And the return on that investment is not just manageable days. It is the slow, cumulative work of understanding yourself, your patterns, your fears, your intrusive thoughts, in the context of a safe relationship with someone who does not judge. The daily practices: meditation, even imperfectly; journaling, even irregularly; walking; social media limits; reading for pleasure, romance novels in her case, something that takes the brain entirely out of the problem and into a different world; time with friends; time without the phone. None of these things are groundbreaking. All of them work. Not because they fix the problem, but because they create the daily conditions in which healing is possible. Takeaway number 3. You do not have to choose between medication and therapy. You do not have to choose between professional help and daily practices. The most effective postpartum mental health support uses all of it. Talk to your OB. Talk to a psychiatrist. Find a therapist you trust enough to tell the truth to, and build the daily habits that make healing a little more possible every day. I want to pause here for just a moment, because if you are listening to this and something is landing, if you are a new mother, or a mother who has been through it, or a woman who loves someone who is quietly drowning right now, please do not leave this page without sharing this video. Because postpartum depression and intrusive thoughts are still so deeply undertreated because they are so deeply unspoken. And every share gets this information to one more woman who might be sitting alone right now convinced she is the only one. She is not. Hit the like button so this reaches her. Share it with the mothers in your life. And subscribe if this is the kind of content that makes you feel less alone. Okay, let's keep going. Part 4. The village. Why you cannot build it after you need it. The support system nobody prepares you to create there is a phrase that gets used a lot around new motherhood. It takes a village. And everyone nods. And then the baby arrives. And women try to do it alone. Because asking for help feels like admitting you cannot handle it. Because the village was not built before it was needed. Because by the time you realize you are drowning, you do not have the energy to organize a rescue. She was fortunate. She said so openly. Her parents wanted to be involved. Her in-laws wanted to be involved. Her sisters were close and helpful. And even with all of that, she still struggled. For the second baby, she also hired someone to come 3 nights a week, to handle the night wakings, to give her 3 nights of uninterrupted sleep in a week that otherwise had none. And she described it as one of the most important things she did for her mental health. Not a luxury. Infrastructure. But here is what she said that I think is the most important thing in this entire conversation. When you trap those thoughts in your head, you convince yourself that you are the only one having them and that something is wrong with you. The second you release them, the second you talk about it, you realize you are not alone. The village is not just logistical. It is not just about who can hold the baby so you can shower. The village is about who you can tell the truth to, who you can say, I had a thought today that scared me. I cried for no reason for 3 hours. I do not recognize myself right now. And who will respond, me too. And you are not alone. And this is going to pass. She made a commitment after going through postpartum to show up differently for her friends who had children after her, to show up harder, to check in more, to not just send flowers the first week and then assume everything was fine, because she knew now that the hardest part often comes after everyone has stopped checking. Takeaway number 4. Build your village before you need it. Not during the hard part. Before. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Be specific about what you will need. And if you do not have family nearby, find your village elsewhere. Mom groups. Classes. Online communities. Anywhere that people are honest about what this actually feels like. Because the alternative, the silence, the isolation, the convincing yourself that you are the only one, is the thing that makes postpartum so much harder than it has to be. Part 5. What the second time around taught her, and what it can teach all of us, the gifts of having been there before she did not get postpartum depression with her second baby. And she thought about this a lot. What was different? What changed? Her second baby was objectively harder. Her first was a unicorn. Slept through the night early, never cried, never spit up. Her second threw every curveball at once. Sleep problems, spit up, unpredictability, and yet she did not spiral. The reason, she believes, comes down to one thing. She knew that it would pass. The first time, in the fog of newborn life, in the exhaustion and the fear and the intrusive thoughts, she could not see the end. She could not feel that there was an end. Her brain told her that she would feel like this forever, that she had lost herself permanently, that this darkness was now just who she was. And then, around month 9 or 10, it lifted. And she felt happier than she had ever been. And she remembered that the darkness was not who she was. It was something she moved through. The second time, when the hard nights came, when the exhaustion piled up, she had that memory. She had that evidence. She knew from her own lived experience that on the other side of this was a happiness she could not currently feel but could absolutely trust. And that trust, that knowledge that the hard part is not the permanent part, was the difference. She also had the tools, the medication, the therapist, the practices, the village, the sleep support, All of it already in place because she had learned the hard way the first time. And this is the gift that those of us who have been through it can offer to those who have not yet. I have been where you are. And I am here now. And I promise you, this is not forever. Takeaway number 5. If you are in it right now, if everything feels permanent and dark and like the person you used to be is completely gone, please hear this. She is not gone. She is resting. She is healing. She will come back. Not the same, better, more patient, more compassionate, more present than she was before. But she will come back. And you will reach a day when you are happier than you have ever been. And you will know with certainty that going through the hard part was how you got there. So let's come back to where we started. A woman coming home to her dream life every night and crying alone, not knowing why. A woman holding her beloved baby and being ambushed by thoughts that terrified her into silence. A woman who eventually said the things out loud, in therapy on her platform to her friends, and discovered that she was never as alone as she thought. Here is what I want you to carry from everything we talked about today. 1. Postpartum depression does not always look the way we expect. It can start at month 4. It can coexist with love for your baby. It can be invisible to everyone around you. If something feels wrong in the first year, say so. 2. Intrusive thoughts affect the vast majority of new parents. They are not a sign of danger. They are not a sign of bad motherhood. They are a sign of a brain under enormous stress trying to protect something it loves. Say them out loud to a safe person. The silence is what gives them power. 3. Medication is a tool. Therapy is infrastructure. Daily practices are the foundation. You do not have to choose. You can and should use all of it. 4. Build your village before you need it. And show up for the mothers in your life not just in the first week, but in the 4th month, the 6th month, the quiet Tuesday when no one is checking in and everything still feels hard. 5. This is not forever. Even when it feels permanent. Even when you cannot feel the end from where you are. There is a version of happiness on the other side of this that you cannot currently imagine. Trust it anyway. And here is the thread that connects all of this to everything we talk about on this channel. Secure love, the kind that holds, the kind that heals, is not possible when we are suffering in silence. It requires honesty. It requires showing up. It requires saying the hard thing to the right person and letting them say back, "You are not alone. And you are going to be okay." If this video gave you something today, a name for what you have been feeling, a permission you have been waiting for, a moment of recognition that you are not the only one, drop a comment below and tell me, what is the one thing you wish someone had told you about the postpartum period before you went through it? I read every single comment, and your answer might be the exact thing another mother needs to hear today. And if you know a new mother, or a mother who has been quietly struggling, please share this video with her. Because the most healing thing we can offer someone is the simple, radical knowledge that they are not alone. If you are not subscribed yet, this is your sign. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and I will see you right here next week. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you then.